In the heart of Africa's most famous game reserve, two friends laugh under the stars, waist-deep in water. A playful challenge to see who can collect the most golf balls from a silent dam. But beneath the surface, something ancient stirs. Without warning, the water explodes. A 13-foot predator strikes, and in a flash, one of them vanishes beneath the dark. This isn't the story of a wild animal going rogue. This is the story of a man who grew up in the wild, and how familiarity with danger can lead to fatal mistakes. What really happened that night at Lake Panic, and could it have been prevented? Tonight, we unravel a savage tale soaked in tragedy, instinct, and cold-blooded precision. Welcome to Savage Tales Animal Encounters, the channel where we journey into the raw, the wild, and the sometimes brutal truths of human-animal conflict. Here we don't just tell stories, we relive them. From sudden shark attacks in tourist waters to bear encounters in backyards, we bring you edge-of-your-seat narratives where nature doesn't play nice. Every episode is meticulously researched, vividly narrated, and designed to leave you breathless, and maybe a little more respectful of the wild world we share. If you're fascinated by the untamed, the unforgiving, and the unexpected moments where man meets beast, you're in the right place. Don't just watch. Be part of the Savage Tales community. Smash that like button if this story gripped you. Share this video to remind others that nature never forgets. Got thoughts or theories about what happened that night? Comment below. I read every single one. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss a chilling new tale. Because in this wild world, danger doesn't come with a warning, but we do. Strap in, stay curious, and remember here at Savage Tales, survival isn't guaranteed and every encounter has a price. The day had begun like any other in Kruger National Park. Sunlit skies over endless savanna, impalas grazing in the golden grass, and the occasional trumpet of elephants echoing through the bush. By nightfall, the wild world seemed to settle under a heavy hush, as stars pricked the darkness, and the temperature dropped gently into the low 20s Celsius. At the edge of this wilderness lay the Kruger golf course, a quiet, well-kept green nestled within park boundaries, where rangers, staff and locals often came to relax. But this was no ordinary golf course. Unfenced and open to nature, it was a place where fairways crossed paths with warthogs and impalas might bolt across the ninth hole. Just beyond the final green lay Lake Panic, a small dam as beautiful as it was dangerous. Jacques van der Sandt knew this place well. At 29 years old, he was more than just a golf enthusiast. He was a child of the park. Raised among rangers and conservationists, with his mother currently employed by the park and his father having retired from sandparks, Jacques had spent much of his life moving comfortably among South Africa's wildest animals. To him, the dangers of Kruger were not abstract warnings, they were familiar, almost intimate, perhaps too familiar. That evening, Jacques and a close friend wrapped up a casual game of golf. The moonlight shimmered on the calm surface of Lake Panic as the two friends stood near its edge, sharing stories, laughter, and a challenge. It started as a light-hearted dare, a friendly bet. "Let's see who can grab more balls," one of them said, motioning toward the water. Golfers often lose balls in the dam. The murky lake bed held dozens, maybe hundreds, resting like forgotten treasure just beneath the surface. Driven by the thrill of the game, and perhaps emboldened by the familiarity of his surroundings, Jacques removed his shoes and stepped into the water. It was just knee-deep at first, cool and still. He waded in further, reaching waist height, the surface glistening black around him. The moon offered little light, and visibility beneath the water was near zero, but Jacques didn't need to see. He relied on feel. He bent slightly, arms extending downward, hands brushing along the soft silt and scattered stones below, searching for the smooth curves of golf balls resting in the dark. Behind him, his friend waited near the shore, watching, occasionally calling out with laughter or encouragement. They had no reason to believe danger was near, but Lake Panic has its secrets. Known among staff as home to a resident croc, this dam supported a thriving ecosystem and an apex predator perfectly adapted for ambush. In the stillness of the night, just beneath the water's surface, 3.9 meters of primal instinct lay coiled in silence. The crocodile had likely been watching for some time, unmoving, its nostrils and eyes just barely breaking the surface. Jacques would not have seen it, nor would he have heard it. That's the terrifying truth about Nile crocodiles. They don't stalk with sound. They wait, they calculate, and when the moment is right, they strike with blinding speed. And then, in a single heartbeat, the calm of the dam would shatter, the surface would erupt, and the boundary between man and beast, between the living and the lost, would vanish beneath the black water. What happened next would leave a mark not only on the friends and family of Jacques van der Sandt, but on the very soul of Kruger National Park. It happened in an instant. From beneath the obsidian stillness of Lake Panic, the crocodile launched upward with terrifying speed, a torpedo of prehistoric muscle and teeth. There was no warning, no ripple, no roar, just the sudden explosive violence of a predator that had been waiting and calculating. Jacques van der Sandt, crouched, waist-deep, his hands combing the lake bed for golf balls, never stood a chance. In a flash, 3.9 meters, nearly 13 feet, of reptilian power surged through the water. Its jaws, capable of exerting over 3,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, clamped down on him with brutal precision. It didn't bite to kill, it bit to drag. Before Jacques could scream, before his friend on shore could react, the crocodile had latched on and twisted, performing what biologists call the death roll, a violent spinning maneuver designed to disorient prey and bring it under control. The surface of the water erupted with thrashing waves and foam, then, just as suddenly, everything went still. Silence returned to Lake Panic, but this time it was chilling. On the shore, Jacques' friend froze in horror, helplessly staring at the place where his friend had vanished. There were no bubbles, no cry for help, just the soft lapping of disturbed water and a darkness far deeper than it had been a moment before. Panic set in. Calls were made. Park officials and rangers mobilized rapidly. In a reserve as vast as Kruger, nearly 20,000 square kilometers of wild terrain, response times can vary. But this was different. Jacques wasn't a tourist, he was family, a son of the park. Word travelled fast. Within minutes, headlights pierced the night as armed rangers arrived at the dam, spotlights swept the water, thermal scopes were deployed. Somewhere beneath the surface, a killer still lurked, and time was running out. For over 2 hours, the rangers combed the lake's edge, listening, watching, hoping for a sign, then movement. A set of eyes, glowing in the glare of the floodlights, surfaced near the bank. The unmistakable profile of a Nile crocodile. With no margin for hesitation, the decision was made. Rangers took aim and fired. The giant reptile, the suspected attacker, was killed with precision. Silence returned, but this time it came with solemnity. The recovery was grim but necessary. Using boats and search teams, rangers retrieved Jacques' body from the water. He bore the tooth marks of the beast that had taken him, deep impressions across his back and torso, but remarkably there was no mutilation. This had not been a prolonged kill. It had been a swift, decisive act of natural predation. He had been taken quickly, silently, just as crocodiles have done for over 200 million years. Jacques van der Sandt was 29 years old, a dedicated golfer, a son, a friend, and a child of the park. Born into the rhythms of Kruger, he knew its beauty and its dangers, perhaps too well. Park officials issued statements the following morning. The attack was labelled a tragic but unnatural death, triggering formal investigations. Sandt Park's ecologist Danny Govender spoke with candid clarity. The animal was doing what naturally comes to them, hunting for food, and unfortunately, a life was lost in the process. It was a reminder, not just for the staff of Kruger, but for all who tread its untamed soil, that in wild places the rules are ancient, and they are absolute. Lake Panic, tranquil as it may appear, had lived up to its name, and for the staff of Kruger it would never feel quite the same again. In that dam, where moonlight dances and barbel catfish dart below, a deadly ambush played out as it has thousands of times in nature, silent, swift and final, and one man's challenge, so innocently made, ended in one of the most haunting wildlife encounters in recent memory. What happened to Jacques van der Sandt is a sobering reminder that in the wild, respect isn't optional, it's survival. Even for those who call the bush home, the line between life and death can vanish with a single misstep or a single ripple in the water. Thank you for watching this episode of Savage Tales Animal Encounters. If this story made you think, if it stirred something in you, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts, your reactions, or your own close encounters with nature. Your voice helps keep these stories alive. Tap that like button. It tells the algorithm this story matters. Share this video with friends, wildlife lovers, and even skeptics, because awareness can save lives. And most importantly, subscribe. If you haven't already, we drop new episodes regularly. Each one a true story where nature doesn't hold back. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment. We dive into shark attacks, bear maulings, venomous ambushes, and more real-life wildlife encounters that shock, inform, and haunt. These aren't just stories, they're reminders. Every footstep into the wild has a consequence. This is Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where survival isn't guaranteed and every encounter has a price.